Assalamu alaikum fam, hope you're doing well. So, I want to talk to you today about mental health and YouTube monetization. There was a recent YouTuber, you guys most likely don't follow him, it's a political channel, I'm not gonna put his information on blast even though he's publicly had a crisis, but his channel recently got demonetized from YouTube and he went on a total spiral of mental health. And he threatened self-harm, and stuff like that. And so, this got me to thinking about how people have to diversify their income, because this happened to a conservative political channel, and more now, religious leaning and conservative channels that are not with the rainbow mafia or the woke agenda get heavily demonetized and censored and outright deleted, okay? And leftists have denied this is happening, but the evidence is everywhere, and many people have talked about it. So, a solution to this is for people to have not only a merch shop, they can have a tiny little Etsy shop, they can also have some type of income. Let's say you do a beehive, you sell goat milk, you do carving of stone, you are an electrician part-time. You have to have multiple ways of creating an income, and I would say that you should have some channels that are yours that don't have to do with your political channel, and you can create content on those as well, but also expand to BitChute, Rumble, Odyssey, get on True Social when you can, get on Minds.com, Getter, MeWe. You have to expand outside of the leftist-owned apps. Now, any app can change. I mean, Twitter changed over time to become totally insane echo chamber, and really censoring truth and really limiting what people can talk about. YouTube was an awesome kind of Wild West app. Now, if you don't agree with certain Silicon Valley talking points of the San Francisco Sodom and Gomorrah, you will get, your head on a pike, as they say. So, if you are solely depending on YouTube monetization, understand that can be revoked anytime, and that YouTube doesn't care about you at all. YouTube does not care about its content creators. Use the app to push your audience to go to other apps. More and more left-wing activists are going into YouTube and arbitrarily punishing the channels they don't politically agree with, and even smaller channels like little tiny ASMR channels. They report constantly how they can't really contact anyone at YouTube, and YouTube makes the excuses that they have low staff because of the coof epidemic. In reality, they're just putting everything with a bot system. So they're not even a way to talk to a human most of the time. And this is why YouTube is a precarious app. And that if you're going to put all your eggs in one basket, this is going to make it really hard for you to survive. This is why I've talked about, having multiple presences on different apps. Don't believe the leftists when they tell you this app is all white supremacists, this app is all Nazis. What they're trying to do is this sort of reverse psychology. They're trying to keep you corralled so that you only can be force-fed their approved ideas. So you can never break out and hear an opposite spectrum. Okay? And even if you get harassed on the app, you still get harassed on YouTube by bots, right? No matter where you go, you're going to encounter some weirdos and bots. So on these new apps, they're up and coming, they may be glitchy, but you have to have your content in other places, okay? So consider having multiple ways for people to donate to you. If you can't do what you do for free, and you have to make money off of what you do, no matter what kind of content you do, you need to have a Subscribe Star, and a Patreon. Now, Patreon is a political organization. They will ban users if they don't agree with certain left-wing policies. I'm not going to name all the pretty cool, edgy content creators who've gotten banned off of Patreon, but Patreon as well and PayPal are political leaning. They're not like unbiased like a caching platform should be. It should just be like a gas station. You pay the money for the gas, you get the service. But they now take an active political role. So you have to be aware of that the leftists are getting more and more insane in their censorship crusade and their hard strangle on the narrative of human thought, okay? And they want to force feed you their ideas, not allowing the competition of ideas. And instead of them using the block function or just not watching content they don't like, they outright want those people banned, okay? And they are so forceful now, they'll go after your sponsors, they'll go after your followers, DM them and harass them. They have focused, very clever, formulated political action plans, okay? They are very good at that, and there are Muslims who are part of these groups, okay? And they have the same consciousness of cancel culture and the woke mafia. So what you have to do is to keep yourself afloat is obviously turn to Allah Azza but you have to have secret things that you're a part of, right? You have to have secret ways of earning, even putting things in other people's name and then they give you the money, right? You have to have a literal thing that they can't touch, and also multiple ways for people to donate you through various, banking platforms. You have the Cash App, you have, if you want to try to use PayPal, you have that. My point is that you have to find the ways to make it to where you have a constant source of income. And more importantly, in the age of the cyber world and the risk of cyber attacks, right? And the electrical grid going down, like California shuts the electricity off for a few days at a time when it's a fire weather. You have to have ways to earn money to pay your rent when you're not allowed to work in the gig economy. So you need a physical something coming in. And that can be something minor. It could be a food truck, could be, you have a sewing machine, you make homemade clothes. Not everything has to be about big money, okay? There's a problem with people thinking they always have to be like, I have to invest, 5,000 in Bitcoin, 7,000 in the stock market. I got to do this, I got to do that. You can start with little things and be content with a little bit of, change coming in from multiple directions, and eventually the jar fills up and you're able to survive, okay? But it takes you really figuring out how you can monetize these little things and not depend solely upon YouTube, which every single day is becoming an increasingly censorious, biased, degenerate app that promotes things that are not really good for your mental health and knowledge, right? The coders who formulate the algorithm promote things that make people kind of go insane, and Twitter is the same thing. Rage bait, rage feeds that are, put people in this spiral of dopamine hits, make people these sort of digital demons, and then these people complain about their mental health later, that they were impulsive and were too mean, they overreacted, they dogpile people. So you have to make yourself financially resistant from the cancel culture dogpiling mob, and you have to make yourself self-subsistent from censorship, deplatforming, and debanking, and also self-reliant in the terms of not having to depend solely upon the electrical grid for a source of income. This is why I've been telling you, all of you, for a long time that a farmer is richer than the city boy, right? Because when the lockdowns made people have to go home And some people didn't get their unemployment filings, and so much identity theft was happening. People still had to pay their rent on time. And if they missed it, they still had to pay the back rent. Landlords got screwed over. And leftists actually cheered that. They actually were like, oh, landlords are rich, they can afford it. When in reality, it means that a landlord now doesn't have money to fix things, and he now becomes a slumlord because he still has to pay the piper on, taxes on the land. He has to put in new windows, whatever property management he has to do has to be taken from the bucket, and then his employees who work to maintain his properties, he has to fire some because now he can't afford it. So you have to pretty much realize, my point is you have to create yourself afloat in many ways. Trusting just the online and trusting just a physical brick and mortar position is not the way. You have to have, like an octopus, one tentacle over here, one tentacle over there, one tentacle over there, and then you have things in your name and other names, and then you also have to have multiple ways for people to donate to you. So you have a P.O. box, right? The postal system is great because it's not biased like Patreon, right? They have to deliver your mail. So if somebody wants to send you a super chat through the mail, they want to donate silver to you, they want to, they want to give you something, right? Maybe a coffee cup, whatever. They can do it through that. And if it's, obviously, you can't send anything bad. I mean, that'd be insane. But my point is that you have multiple ways to survive deplatforming. Because the culture is getting stronger and stronger on social credit score and submit or we crush your livelihood. So it's very oppressive. And this is causing people like that one YouTuber, when he got demonetized, to have crises in their mind where they feel like, oh, they want to harm themselves and they want to, their brain snaps because they didn't expect for YouTube to do that to them. And YouTube is trying, through its activists who work there, to get people to love the money so much to where they will shut their mouths and obey the agenda. And once you sell out, then you're going to have a problem. If you get monetization now, every day you should think it could be gone just like that. It can be gone just like that. And if you start censoring who you are as a person in order to get money, you've lost the plot. If you love what you do and you have pure intentions, you should be able to do it even if you don't make money from it. And it doesn't mean you're a loser for doing something that you don't make money from. That's volunteering is a noble cause. When people volunteer, they don't get paid, they do it from their heart. Tons of nurses volunteer their free time. Lots of people volunteer to talk to veterans for mental health, right? People volunteer at pet shelters, you name it. Just because you don't make money from something doesn't mean you're a loser, you're not financially savvy, because good things in life don't always require a payday, okay? So, what we have to do, I'm different because I have my own ways, but what I'm saying as a ummah, we Muslims and non-Muslims who are probably just good, decent people in general, right? You have to, like I said, have multiple ways to come in. This is a lot of time and energy, but it's the future. You have to do it. You have to be savvy, and you can't think you're above certain things. Like if you want to walk dogs a couple times a week, and you may not get too much money, but it's still something. Rich people want their dogs to be walked. If you want to clean houses, you want to do landscaping, you want to start your own lawn mowing service, your own snow shoveling service, whatever it is. You want to start a barter system in your community? I'll trade you this basket full of apples for your basket of oranges, right? You want to start that kind of stuff? Do it, right? Because the more self-reliant you become, the less controllable you become. Our government now, at least in America, because we have these cultural Marxists in the universities from the left-wing spectrum, and the right wing has not shared their secrets in business and hasn't really been honest about how the free market works and, really has failed to fix the social aims of the culture. We have, a lot of people lost in how to survive. So, if we take a step back from the marketing propaganda of what success means, what title worship is, credentialism, all that garbage, and we look to say like, I can sell this, I can do this, I can have this. You have many little tiny skills, many little hobbies, many positions on different apps, and you become totally self-reliant and uncancelable. This is highly important for our future of survival, because they're going to start to put in that iron grip. Either you obey our agenda, you don't say the words we don't want you to say, or we literally deplatform you and you'll go into financial ruin. This is why you have to avoid debt as well. If you buy some 10 acres and you live in a trailer on your own land that isn't developed yet, you're more rich than the person in San Francisco who's living in a studio apartment for, $2,000 a month, right? Because they're entirely dependent upon the grocery stores. They can't grow their own food. If the electricity and water goes out, the roads are clogged. If there's the earthquake, the San Andreas fault line, they're totally screwed, right? They can't go to work, totally screwed. Whereas if you're living in a trailer on 10 acres, you can grow your own food, and you may not have the fancy, Starbucks or, Whole Foods or whatever. You are more richer. You are more free. And that's what we have to be. See, the companies have created a very groomed position. Just like they say, you only love your partner if you give a diamond ring, right? That's 3 months' salary. It's just an object that gets you robbed. It's really senseless to spend that much money on a marriage ring. You could have a piece of wood. I don't even think you're supposed to have rings in Islam, if you're a man. But my point is that you don't have to follow their trends. But you do have to prepare yourself for the day that the cancel culture mob and the agenda of the state comes upon you. One cool thing I noticed in history is that the Jews, you've got to hand it to them, is everywhere they went, they found a way to survive in their own secular community. I don't mean secular as an atheist, their own little tiny niche community. The Amish are great at this. The Mormons have it for them. Not as much as today, because, more Californians are importing their crappy ideas to the state. And Californians are abandoning California because of their failed economic policies, and now infecting the red states that they moved to with the same crappy policies that didn't work in California. So we have to prepare for that future, because that's where the trends are going. When you see people I don't agree with everything Jordan Peterson says, Sargon of Akkad, Joe Rogan, all these people, they're pretty mellow on the spectrum of political thought. But when you see them get heavily canceled, when you see the media turn the machine upon them, when you see, these calls by the leftists for censorship, besides Jimmy Dore and Kyle Kulinski, they are not for censorship. There are some pretty cool leftists who are not for that, but they're very few, because they fear their own party, I'd argue. Jimmy Dore has been heavily punished for not being part of the TYT cult or the Vosh cult of censorship brigades. But you have to prepare for that arriving to you. And they can find anything to censor you about. There's people, like I said last time, a guy was feeding his piranhas some fish, live bait. YouTube demonetized him because they said it was violent. This comes from the vegan kind of weirdos who are afraid of raw reality, and rather you watch Cardi B than watch a fish eat another fish, right? So this very weird, warped, monstrous, cancerous, floating energy that's highly inverted, unspiritual, insane, that comes from this sort of algorithms and Silicon Valley grooming, is coming upon innocent people and crushing their ability to make money. And the trajectory shows it's only going to get weirder. right? As they create new words to be banned, new things you can't talk about. You know, if you say that, you know, only biology and like, you know what I'm trying to say. You start to say basic facts that categorize as hate speech. So you have to be 2 steps ahead, 4 steps ahead of what they'll do to you. And as they infiltrate Islam, they're going to get around Muslims and try to get Muslims to cancel each other. You've already seen this with Brother Gabriel when they tried to demonetize him. He got it back. You see how they try to do it for Daniel. They call him all kinds of hardcore names. You begin to see how that mindset is creeping in, and that Islam is not above getting infected with that liberal disease. Okay? And it's funny because it used to be liberals were like, in the 80s, very like, say what you want to say, very anti-war. But now they're a new party because of the Gen Z crowd, the internet babies. So you have to prepare. Okay? So when I heard about that YouTube creator going through that mental crisis, I thought, let me get on, make a quick video. It's not really quick, it's 21 minutes long, but about what you got to do to prepare. It may seem overwhelming. It may seem, why is it worth it? Like, oh, why is it worth it? But it is worth it. And if you can donate to your favorite creators, $1, $2, do it. If you can buy a coffee cup, buy a pen, or I don't know, support the people you like, right? They deserve to eat. They deserve to have something, and buy locally from small farms. Start using your money in a better way, and start keeping your community alive and protected from those who seek to destroy it. So hopefully you found this video helpful, and have a great rest of your day.